Indian cricket readies then for life beyond Virat Kohli, the captain. So much has happened since that eventful Test match series too. Virat Kohli has now relinquished the Test captaincy. The ODI leadership, of course, was rather ungracefully taken away from him a few months back before this team even reached South Africa. And the talking point will be, in the absence of Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul being captain, Virat Kohli playing as a pure batter. What do teams look to gain from a three-match ODI series that doesn't even form part of the World Super League, as the next 50-over World Cup is a little over a year and a half away? Daryll, Cullinan and Sanjay Manjrekar, I'm delighted that you all are all format specialists and we've selected you from the tests right into the ODIs. These days, workload needs to be managed like it does for Kagiso Ramara, but the two of you remain at the center of our coverage plans. So very warm welcome to both of you. A very good morning to Daryl at Pal, where this ODI is taking place. You can see the players just outside your window, can't you, Daryl?
Yes, good morning. Good morning, Ronnie. Good morning, Sanjay. If I just out there, just put my head out the window, I can actually see the stadium lights. But it's a beautiful day. It's going to be a very warm one as well.
Yeah, I think what we want to know, Sanjay, is as viewers, what is it that we can, look to watch out for in an ODI series like this? As a World Cup so far away, what's the first thing you're looking forward to as India play ODI cricket for the first time since they did against England in March last year?
I guess the first thing that fans will be looking forward to, and I think they'll be reminded of the fact that maybe the Test series was a little disappointing for India, but it's a good white ball team, has been for a while, and unfortunately got knocked out of the T20 World Cup, but I thought they were good contenders there as well. So I think the reminders first of just forgetting what happened in the Test series, and India will show their class here in white ball cricket. Also focus on a couple of guys, Virat Kohli for obvious reasons. There's Venki Iyer, who has been quickly brought into 50 overs cricket, although his exploits and the attention that he got was via T20 cricket. Slightly disappointed with few incumbents still finding places in this playing 11, considering it's not part of the Super League. I wish they would have given more opportunities for the slightly unknowns.
Yeah, fair enough. The younger players, you think, would you give them a chance? If you have to give them a chance, you play them in the first ODI in a three-match series. Otherwise, it becomes pretty hard and unfair almost on them. But let's ask Daryl Cullinan the same question. South Africa don't play as much 50-over cricket themselves, Daryl. They also now there's going to be a spotlight on a Quinton de Kock, who's prioritizing the white ball formats after quitting Test cricket rather unexpectedly in the first Test. What are you looking forward to most from a South African perspective?
Well, to keep the winning ways going, look, South Africa under pressure, whilst this may not be counting towards the Super League, they need to get their 50-over game in order. And whilst it's only next year, realistically, if you think about it, there's probably 15 to 20 one-day internationals that South Africa have left in their commitments over the next 12 months before the World Cup. And I think it's now the sort of time that you need to focus in and saying, right, let's give players the opportunity to play. We heard Rahul talk about wanting to try out combinations, and you've got to get that going now and give the guys the experience.
What a story KL Rahul is, isn't it, Sanjay? Suddenly his, let's call it, market value seems to have been shot up. Here's a guy who was just about making his way back into the Test team, was lucky to get an opportunity in England after many players higher in the pecking order didn't get in. A few months later, he's Test vice captain, has already captained India in a Test. He could very well be a candidate for full-time Test captain. And in the absence of Rohit Sharma and the withdrawal of Virat Kohli, he's now leading India in ODI cricket too.
Yes, Test cricket is not a format that's making anybody too much money. It's not a revenue spinner for cricket boards. Slightly irrelevant in today's day and age, but the importance of Test cricket is known when you see what happens when somebody like a KL Rahul or Rohit Sharma have a great Test series, and especially overseas. I think the impact of that is seen of what happens with those players. Their sort of credibility really, goes sky high. Their stature as players, get elevated, and that's one of the reasons Rohit Sharma since then has become such a contender for leadership. Just imagine Rohit Sharma, failing again in England in that overseas series, and I don't think he would be in contention as much. People would have seen him as somebody who gets runs only on Indian flat pitches. So Test cricket performances there, KL Rahul as well, his brand value has increased, as you said, and it's all got to do with that performance in England. You take that out, and you would think maybe the scenario would have been slightly different.
I've always wondered in these situations, though. Virat Kohli's just announced he's not going to be captain. Rohit Sharma, the full-time captain, is not available. Is it such a big deal to just tell Virat, yeah, but you know what? Why don't you just lead another game or another couple of games because you don't have Rohit here anyway? Otherwise, we're looking technically at our third option, maybe even later in KL Rahul. I remember MS Dhoni once leading many months after, many years after he had relinquished the captaincy in a one-off game when everybody else seems to be injured. But we don't do that, Sanjay. Can't even have that conversation, can you? Virat just lead. It's easier.
Well, you can see clearly he doesn't want captaincy. I mean, he's made three massive announcements as captain in a matter of months. So I don't think anybody would have had the courage to go and tell him why don't you take care of this particular series because we don't have too many other replacements. But, the fact is that the Indian team is so well sort of organized now. It's like a well-oiled machinery. So it doesn't matter whether Ajinkya Rahane is leading them today or Rohit Sharma, or for that matter, KL Rahul. I thought they were quite impressive in that second test match under KL Rahul as test captain. It's only that wonderful chase on that final day of the test match that saw South Africa winning. So I don't think captaincy is such an issue. And because of the excessive amount of matches played, it's not that big a deal as it used to be in the past where, announcing a captain and giving him the responsibility was a big thing because that sort of sat with him for a couple of years at least.
All right, fair enough. Let's go to the teams, shall we? And try and see what these captains have made of the surface. Perhaps when they both pick two specialist spinners, Daryll Cullinan can tell us a bit more as we look at South Africa's team. Daryll, two specialist spinners. They're playing both Tabraiz Shamshi and Keshav Maharaj. There's a return to top flight cricket for David Miller, Quinton de Kock after the first test. A debut for Marco Jansen as well, who was so impressive in the tests. Here he is now as a bowling all-rounder, probably bat 8 after Andile Pektukwayo. And that comprises of a bowling attack that includes Lungi Ngidi in the absence of Kagiso Rabada. Right, Daryl, thoughts on that team in South Africa picking two specialist spinners?
Yeah, that is a bit of a surprise, particularly against India. But obviously the surface, they must feel, is going to play a big role. I can tell you it's been pretty warm here over the last week or so. Temperatures have been sky high. But with 5 specialist bowlers there, his backup essentially is only Aiden Markram. I don't think he's a bowled 10. So they're going to rely on both spinners, particularly Shamsi, who's really been a T20 specialist. He's got to look to bowl 10 here, and if he gets it wrong, he can go for a good few. But I like the inclusion of Jansen. I went for Pretorius instead of Pektukwayo, but South Africa feel that's the way to go. But they're back in 5 specialist bowlers and 2 spinners. And I think a lot of spotlight will be on Shamsi to see how he goes over 10. But he is an attacking wicket taker. And I think that's what South Africa will look to him to do. And if it is dry, they're bowling second. So that might help him, yes.
If you look at that South African team, Sanjay, would you still, as an Indian side, think we're surely the better team, or at least stronger team on paper, favourites entering into it? Barring Quinton de Kock, you don't think there is a outright headline-grabbing ODI player in that team, especially now in the absence of Rabada, with due respect to the likes of Shamsi and Miller, who have had their moments in T20 cricket?
Again, we start off in the same fashion like we did in the test series where we believed India was the stronger team on paper, on the field as well, but the result was completely unexpected. I see India as the stronger team, and the track record again is something that might mislead you because I think India won only 10 matches as opposed to South Africa 20. In South Africa. So this is a great chance again for India to just better that record. This is a stronger Indian team in the contest. Just that the kind of playing 11 that's picked today. I just wonder whether they're slightly thin on batting Rishabh Pant at number 5. So yeah, that's the only issue that I have, but still a team that has a good wide ball record of late.
Excellent. Let's get into that. Before that, just to put Sanjay's point in perspective, you look at the head-to-head in ODIs for these two teams, and since 2015, you will get an idea that as to why we're saying India is the stronger team. They've won 10 out of 14, including key matchups at ICC events. So you do have India who've been the better team, you'd say, since 2015. Otherwise, in the years before that, when Daryll Cullinan used to reign strong in the South African side, it was certainly numbers in favor of South Africa. Now, as we look at numbers for India's batters, Sanjay makes the point. They are batter light. They've been confident with just, Venkatesh Iyer and Rishabh Pant occupying 5 and 6. Let's have a look at the most runs for India since 2020. KL Rahul's up there, Shikhar Dhawan's up there, Virat Kohli's up there. So they're playing the top four. There's not been a lot of ODI cricket, mind you, for India since 2020. So keep that in mind. There's still a sample size of 12 innings, 10, 12 innings there. But let's get to that point, Sanjay. No Surya Kumar Yadav. They've decided to go with Shreyas Iyer and then the all-rounder. Would you have gone differently?
Yes, considering the importance of this particular one-day series, it's not even counted in the Super League. So it's a great opportunity to look forward to 2023 World Cup and look at the options that you have. So I would have maybe rested Shikhar Dhawan, who is a very good one-day player. He's a player that you can call upon anytime if you need him, and he'll come and deliver. And I've had a year that he's going to play in the team to be the sixth bowling option to open with KL Rahul. So that way you can get in a Surya Kumar Yadav into the team, because Surya Kumar Yadav, I mean, the way he's been playing in the last couple of years, even in List A cricket and IPL and wherever we've seen him, he's a guy you want to give more and more chances. So I don't understand the inclusion purely from that standpoint of Shikhar Dhawan and to an extent Bhuvaneshwar Kumar as well.
Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, the first bowler you think who India got disposed of from that T20 World Cup midway through the tournament. They let him go. The options in this game would have been the likes of Deepak Chahar. There's also Prasidh Krishna in this team, but they've gone for the experience of Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. It's a curious one, Daryll, for the simple reason that players like Dhawan in particular are now considered just ODI selections or ODI specialists. There's no room at the top of the T20I team. There's no room at the Test team. I wonder what the future holds for players that show themselves now as just ODI specialists, whether there's a long rope for them.
Yeah, it is, because, as I mentioned, you're building up towards a major tournament in just under 12 months. But I think there's so much cricket played these days, and where and how and who do you identify to fill a particular role. I think India have gone for experience, believing that maybe that's what they need to start the series well with. But, India are fortunate. They've got quite a few options to consider. So it didn't surprise me, as Rahul mentioned at the end of the toss, that they are looking at various combinations. So I don't think this will be the playing 11 in all three one days, particularly if it's not counting towards points. So probably that's the approach that India have decided on.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Dhawan's record, and there's no disputing it. I think it's fair to say, I hope Sanjay backs me up on that, you can call him an ODI great for India. His numbers have just shown that. Averages, in excess of or almost touching 50, the exception of 1 year in 2019. And you know what Shikhar Dhawan is capable of in one-day cricket at the big stage at ICC events. That having been said, though, finds himself out of the T20I team, and we're looking at more numbers for Dhawan in ODIs against South Africa. In South Africa, he averages 48. So that's terrific numbers to pick up for a player who's playing in just one format. But what's the future like for someone like Dhawan? He's a realistic member of your 2023 World Cup plans, Sanjay, even though you don't find room for him in any other format?
Yes, that is where I made the point of, resting somebody like a Shikhar Dhawan for this series, only because 2023 is not right away, and you've got to look at some, exciting ideas. I think this particular selection committee or the team management are very kind to the incumbents. They tend to get a lot of opportunities, but that way, perhaps you're not playing some of the other, exciting young talent at the right time. For example, Deepak Chahar in 50 overs cricket has done most things right. He's a guy who at this stage, if you compare Bhuvaneshwar Kumar with Deepak Chahar, he's at his prime, Deepak Chahar, more than Bhuvaneshwar Kumar. And, a couple of years later, what are you expecting from Bhuvaneshwar Kumar? Jayant Yadav. That's an interesting inclusion. And just imagine Jayant Yadav in this side. I think he's good enough to bowl 10 overs, especially against the South African side. Plus, you get the batting of Jayant Yadav. So if I was part of the team management, I would look at all these options, especially because you're not going to get any points here from this series. That's going to help your qualification. India automatically qualify 2023. Anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. Point made. If you give young players a go, you can find quite a few of them actually looking like they belong here. So JANNEMAN Malan's one of those players. Now been a year or so that he's been around and seems to have made that top order spot his own. Averages 82 in 10 innings in ODI cricket. But this looks like a guy who's here to stay, Daryll. And he's part of what's a pretty crowded top order. A lot of guys that want to bat at the top. Quinton de Kock's there, Aiden Markram's there. Someone like Rassie van der Dusen likes to bat in the top three. You think he'll have to bat a bit lower now? What do you make of JANNEMAN Malan and what he's brought to the South African white ball team?
Well, he had a very exciting debut. I mean, he scored runs from virtually the word go, debuted with 100, if I'm correct, in terms of ODI cricket. And this is his home ground. That's a great advantage as well. But he is someone that they've looked to for some time now, and I'm sure will be part of the plans to come. Just on that issue about selection and that India have got a new coach. He's got to find his way in terms of he'll have his ideas of what's to play in that. Where South Africa, it's different. I think what you see in there is pretty much what they will go with. And I think that's always a nice feeling as a player. If you know where you stand and you know what's coming up and you're going to be part of those plans, you then can also, work on your game and try and get it up to what's going to be required. And that's probably why South Africa, not having all the options India have, are probably more settled in terms of what they know their way forward.
If you are in the South African management, Daryll, with everything that's going on, Quinton de Kock is another issue now that you just keep at the back of your mind, right? What are we going to do about Quinton? And it's a given now that, this guy's a great white ball player. He's always going to be part of our plans. We look at his numbers in ODI cricket, and against India, he's terrific. An ODI series that India came to here, I think 2014-15, where he got 300s in 3 games. This guy is terrific in this format, but it's a different Quinton de Kock, isn't he? He seems to polarize a lot of opinions in South African cricket. And here he is now saying, I don't want to be Test captain anymore, and I want to play only the white ball formats. Do you suddenly expect more out of him?
I think he's got a lot to prove. I think we're all waiting in anticipation how he's going to approach this. When I say a lot to prove in terms of, this is his future now. He's obviously T20 cricket. But you just don't know with Quinton, do you? You don't know what he's going to do on the day. And what's clear as well is what he's thinking deep down is, and how serious this is for him and how he wants to go. He's still, in cricketing terms, a young guy. He's experienced now, so he's got so much ahead of him. I would really love to see him take this opportunity and really build on what his reputation, what he's established. And so I think all of South Africa is hoping that Quinton plays well, and the real Quinton that wants to play well pitches up.
Sanjay, something on Quinton de Kock? Somehow I just feel like he was more dangerous in a team that had AB de Villiers to follow, Faf du Plessis, and a number of others. Suddenly now when Quinton's become the senior player having to lead the team, you think he's not quite up for it.
You get the impression that he would want to be just one of the guys and, not be the one that people are looking towards, like the AB de Villiers and the Graham Smiths were used to having that kind of pressure, but phenomenal talent. So I just hope that, you see the best of Quinton de Kock. We want to see quality batsmanship, and this is one guy who will give you exceptional performances on the field. So that's all I'm expecting from Quinton de Kock, is that, we get so much of cricket, and there's not always the highest standard of cricket that we see, with especially batting on occasions, that we see something that, excites all of us.
Sorry, nice. Ronnie, that's a very good point you make, because does de Kock really step up? Is he sort of the character that wants to take on that responsibility? He probably is thinking so, but does it come naturally to him? And then you've got Markram, who's finding his way back. Verma, is he really your classic sort of one-day player? I like him in the middle, or Dennis van der Dusen. The other one is Miller. Miller just quietly slips in the team. He's always there in the background, and he plays these odd, brilliant innings, and then he goes quiet. But he always seems to find a place. And then you're down to Pechlukwai, and anything can happen there. So it does elevate the whole thinking around de Kock and Miller in the middle order. Those are going to be 2 massive players for South Africa, not only now, but leading up to the World Cup.
Yeah, well, what do you expect from these players? Been around a while, and you keep having opinions on whether they should be playing one format or the other. No one grabs those headlines as much as our Ashwin does, and he's going to be a matchup for Quinton de Kock as South Africa bat first. Ashwin's playing an ODI for the first time since 2017. Sanjay, the winds seem to have turned for him as well, where we thought maybe we won't get to see finger spinners play for India as much in ODI cricket. Here is Ashwin now back, made his T20I return in the World Cup, and now in ODI cricket. What are we expecting from Ashwin, Sanjay?
He'll be saying the last time that I played 50 years cricket, 2017, as you mentioned, I got 3 wickets in that bowling performance. But like David Miller, he's also quietly sleeping. Sorry.
So he's in good form, I guess, by Ashwin's
Yeah,
logic.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's important that he carries that form from 17 to 22. The thing is that he's also like David Miller, quietly sneaked into India's plans in white ball cricket. It's not like he's set the stage alight in the last couple of years and he's knocking the door down, Ashwin. But the thinking has changed in the management and they've gone away from Kuldeep Yadav and Yuzvendra Chahal. In fact, Jayant Yadav is the other spinning option. They've gotten back to finger spinner. Jadeja has come back into scheme and the planning of India's white ball cricket. So they've gone the other way after being with Kuldeep Yadav and Chahal. But I still don't want to completely reject Kuldeep Yadav and forget about him because on these kind of pitches, especially today, they're talking about turn in this pitch and the South African batters Kuldeep Yadav would have been an exciting, alternative to have. But Ashwin has come in. You know my views. I don't rate him very highly as a white ball spinner. We've seen him over the years at 50 overs level in the IPL. But I guess great opportunity to show that, once he's got the opportunity that he can make it count. The only problem, or rather the interesting thing, Ronak, for all of us is how does Ashwin bowl? Does he bowl? Does he still be the off spinner? Or he becomes this guy who bowls all kinds of deliveries that are possible for a spinner to bowl.
Oh, yes, 60 cracks at it now that he's back in an ODI team. So we shall find out how many off spinners and how much variation. Are we at all likely to see him get a bowl early, Daryll Cullinan, with Quinton de Kock at the crease, Pal and two spinners, dry surface? Or are you expecting more normalcy with the seamers starting?
No, I think he should get a go early on. It won't surprise me if he does take the new ball. It's a big plus for India if they get to Kock out early. He can be particularly dangerous. And with that ball, if there's a bit of turn, not only turn, a bit of bounce, there again, you just don't know what Quinton's thinking. He may look to get it over mid-wicket. But I think it's absolutely worth the go. If it's not working out, then get back to plan A. But I would look to do it.
Average score,
if he's willing if he's willing to bowl the off spinner so that the ball goes against Quinton de Kock's natural sort of swing.
That's interesting because I can't quite recall when last South Africa played two spinners in an ODI. So that to me is a big sign that they believe it's going to turn.
And as we're seeing those numbers just on your screen now, 291 the average score at Boland Park. We know that the Wanderers can give you some serious runs in an ODI game. What sort of venue is Boland Park, especially in a day game, Daryll? Is it one of those that'll stay good throughout the day, get you a 600 run fest?
We'll know after a few overs, I'll be honest with you. But the signs are that it's not just a given flat sort of wicket. Because generally sides, I know from the past, don't mind chasing you at all. But I was there about 2 weeks ago, to be honest with you. It's a beautiful venue. The outfield from my days has improved dramatically. And it's not the biggest of grounds either. And I think that has played a big role in terms of why you're seeing these big scores. So it's either been poor, we've seen scores where sides have been bowled at 40-odd in the past, or it's an absolute belter. And I've got a feeling we're lending towards a better sort of wicket. But with this heat, don't be surprised if we see it start to stay low, and take a bit of turn as the day goes on.
Yes,
just a quick point. Just to remind everyone, this is going to be a day game, and that's why both captains very keen after winning the toss, wanting to bat first, because there is a great chance the sun will stay out and the pitch that is starting off dry will get a lot drier. So great advantage bowling second. There's going to be no dew factor and stuff like that. So a slightly different 50 overs game where it's going to be starting in the day, finishing in daylight. So the toss again becomes crucial the other way around. You want to bat first.
Yeah, fair enough. Good point. If you are wondering why, say, a team was keen to bat first, when normally in ODI cricket everyone likes to chase these days. So you have it from Sanjay and Daryll. We'll have to watch a lot more to perhaps get some more commentary in as far as Venkatesh Iyer, Marco Jansen on debut, KL Rahul, new captain, Quinton de Kock returning. So there's so much to look forward to. So join us then at halftime on ESPN Cricket for Match Day. We'll see how India and South Africa have both gone as they resume some 50-over cricket to call off what's been an already eventful series with the Test. The first of the three ODIs at Pal today. See you at the end of the South African innings.